This is 23-year-old heiress Huguette Clark in 1930, the most recent photo of her ever taken.
This is, a story of vast wealth and of beautiful properties that have, hardly ever been touched, and a woman who was private to an odd degree.
Connecticut journalist Brittany Light began following the story of Huguette Clark a year ago when she visited the New Canaan estate back behind these trees, owned by Clark for 60 years.
The home was purchased in 1952
By Huguette.
By Huguette, and she never spent a night there, never furnished it.
The groundskeeper who's worked there over 2 decades?
The police are on their way up here to ask you guys to leave.
Okay.
So you better leave.
Never met his employer, and until this week thought she'd been dead for years. The home is for sale now. We couldn't get an inside look, but you can on the Realtor's website.
The stately interiors are adorned with such elegant features.
Huguette Clark was the daughter of Gilded Age robber baron William Clark, who became one of the richest men in the world mining copper in Montana, buying a U.S. Senate seat while he was at it. After building a 121-room mansion on Fifth Avenue, he died in 1925. Huguette then married briefly. This photo, by the way, taken on the day of her divorce. After that, she disappeared from public view forever, while still owning all those magnificent homes. So, let's add it up. Huguette had a $24 million mansion here, owned for 60 years, never spent a single night. And then there's the $100 million estate Huguette owns overlooking the Pacific in Santa Barbara, California, perfectly maintained to this day. But Huguette had not been there since the 1950s. She also owned, at this Fifth Avenue apartment building, the entire 8th floor and the entire 12th floor, about $100 million worth of apartment. She still owns it, but she hadn't lived there in 23 years. Nope, despite owning nearly $250 million of some of the finest real estate in America, Huguette Clark elected to spend the final years of her life here at Beth Israel Medical Center, not because she was sick, because she wanted to. The few people who saw her said she seemed happy with the private care she paid for in the hospital. She loved watching cartoons, especially the Flintstones, and the dolls she'd loved and collected since she was a little girl were always around her.
If someone is hanging out with dolls or feels comfortable with dolls, then maybe emotionally she was really a very little girl.
Psychotherapist and author Dr. Robbie Ludwig says what's most telling to her about Huguette is the decision to leave behind her beautiful homes for a hospital.
People who do that tend to like the idea of being taken care of. It's like having faux mothers and fathers around, someone to take care of you, be nice to you, it's safe. And she obviously needed that in order to survive.
And with death, nothing changed. So how secretive did Mrs. Huguette Clark remain until the very end? So secretive that here at Woodlawn Cemetery in the Bronx, where she was buried Thursday morning, they won't even tell you where the Clark family mausoleum is located. Fact is, though, it's kind of hard to miss. The burial took place early Thursday morning, before the cemetery was even open. The only people there? Cemetery employees. So now Huguette Clark finally rests with her father, mother, and siblings. Her mysteries mostly intact.
We tend to think of people who have a lot of wealth as having a lot of options, and we see in certain cases some of these people have very small lives, that their money can create more problems for them, and they end up quite alone at the end of their lives, which is sad.
She had enough money to really stay away from society, and that's what she wanted, and that's what she got.